Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Oh, what's going on today? What the? What are we going to work out on today? What reps should we work on today? Good morning. Come to know the one who watches the voice, and you will come to know one of the great mysteries of creation. Come to know the one who watches the voice, not just listens. The one inside who is aware that you're always talking to yourself about yourself is always silent. It is a doorway to the depth of your being. You think the solution to your inner problem is in the world outside, but nobody has ever truly become okay by changing things outside. There's always the next problem. The change is inside. Good morning. Are you guys hitting the like button? Double tapping your screens? Hitting the like button? Letting the world know we're alive and we're out here wanting to be kind? Practicing it. We don't just want to be it, we practice it. Good morning, Mr. Phillips. Practicing. Hit the like button, double tap the screen. Billy D just did. Good morning, Carnivorous. There you are, Vaggie. Good morning, dear. Vegas Mandy. She's my pal. CCS. One of the smart guys. Good morning, Jesus. Good morning, Sue. Good morning, Jesus. Jesus Christ. Good morning, Jolie. Good morning. Croak them if you got them. Good morning.
When your wife says she'll be home in 5 minutes, she will be. You don't have to remind her every 15 minutes. I ordered this book online titled How to Scam. It's been 6 months now. Hope it arrives soon. Guy told me there was a shark attack today. The shark took out his whole left side. I couldn't believe it when he told me he was all right.
I haven't talked to my wife in 7 years. I don't want to interrupt her.
Mom has forbidden me from making any more breakfast puns. She says if I do, I'm toast. Dad keeps egging me on. He's such a ham.
What did the triangle say to the circle?
You're pointless.
I went to the zoo that only had one animal. It was a dog. It was a Shih Tzu.
My wife got pissed at me because I accidentally overcooked the ribeye last night. I told her we all make mistakes.
Those glasses. Get out of here. All right, all right. I'm gonna oh, that sucks, Croaky. Sorry to hear that. We wouldn't. I don't know what we'd do without power for 2 days. I'd have to be going out and buying a Generac or something. Couldn't afford it. I'm gonna do one more funny for this morning. Listen to this one. Where is it? I Is there a difference between men and women? I don't just mean physiologically, but the way we think. Give me 5 people that think men and women think differently. We just calculate and process differently. Is that a true statement? Is that a true statement? True or false? Men and women think differently. Forget how we look or, physiologically. But typically, men and women think differently. Okay? This lady has it down pretty good. I hope it doesn't, this is a funny little routine. I hope it doesn't offend anybody, please. And just get a kick out of it. Take it in the spirit that it's intended. Okay? If you think that's utter nonsense, that's funny. Utter, UDDER.
Men are good people, all right? I mean, it's on you if it's not going well. And I'm being honest with you. If you're in a relationship with a man and it's not going well, ladies, it's your fault. No, don't boo me. They're simple creatures. You have overestimated them if you allow them to upset you. They are simple creatures. Are you offended by me saying you're simple? No, he's delighted.
He's delighted.
So she will lower her standards and quit nagging, okay? Here's the problem, is that women think that men are thinking all this stuff, and they're not, Half the time the words escape their lips like invisible paintballs, just pelting and annoying women around them. They don't even know, because women, we overthink everything. That's why we can't have wet dreams, okay? Because we'll be like, how did Brad Pitt get in my room? I thought I locked the door. I don't like this position. I haven't brushed my teeth. We think all the time. They don't. They don't. It's not your fault, honey, that you don't think a lot, because you're penis impaired. You have outdoor plumbing, and it pulls on your spine and creates pressure on your medulla oblongata. Sometimes we read into stupid shit they said, and we get our feelings hurt when it's just a dumb dude statement. He's just doing dumb dude stuff. And women get mad. They go, and I appreciate it. I'm letting you know. They go, Monique, you make it sound like we should lower our standards when it comes to men. It's not, no, don't lower them, lose them altogether. If he comes home at night, he's yours. Just feed him some noodles and touch his pee-pee, They're that simple. Men are good people, all right? I mean,
Oh, gosh. I don't know her name. I'll try to figure it out. If anyone here knows her name. Jesus Christ, that's one of your exes. That's funny. That lady is funny. I'm not saying she's right. Well, maybe she is. The best part, if he comes home, just give him some noodles and touch his pee-pee. That's all he wants. Oh, gosh, I think she's right. I feel very simple when I listen to her, nerdy, okay? She makes me feel incredibly simple. But I've told you guys that from the very beginning here. Let's keep it simple. Yeah, it's running up the spine and pressing on the medulla oblongata. That's some funny stuff right there. Good morning, everybody. Are you pushing the like button? Croaky, I can't believe it. I'm so sorry about your power. Okay? I'm simple. I'm very simple. Hit the like button. Or one of those things. Would you please? That stuff is funny. Good morning, everybody. Let's do a couple of, I know what we're going to do this morning. Let's do a couple of rando factos before we go too far. Okay? I was reading rando factos about the planets and rando factos about plants. Okay? Vegas, that's a good question. What part of the country? Probably like North Carolina, South Carolina area. I'll bet, with all those tornadoes and stuff running through there. Croaky, what area are you in? Croaks, what area are you in? Appalachia. Yep, that's what I figured, somewhere around there. Tennessee, is that? No, that's Smoky Mountains. Appalachia. That's in the Carolinas, right? West Virginia. West Virginia, I'm guessing. Appalachia. Yeah, West Virginia. There you go. There you go, Croaks. That's what I figured. Yeah, you have the Appalachian Trail runs all the way from Georgia to Maine, right? Corey, we haven't done the map in forever, have we? You know why? I lost the map pins. I did. I have to order some new set. I'm going to do that. I'll order some more map pins. Okay? Let's talk about some wacky stuff in the plant world. The petals of a skeleton flower. I've never even heard of a skeleton flower before. Croak, the trail goes right by you. That's neat. The petals of a skeleton flower are so delicate that they become transparent when it rains. Can you imagine that, nerdy? You can look right through the petal because it's got a couple little drops of rain on it. Kimberly, what are you doing in East Texas? You're a West Texas lady. Skeleton flowers. How about the world's tallest tree? The world's tallest tree. Don't look it up. No Google, no Google, no Google. If you compared it to the stories on like a high rise, how many stories tall approximately do you think the world's tallest tree is? Don't look it up. No Google, no Google, no Google. The world's tallest tree, it's called the Hyperion. It has its own name. How many stories in a high rise do you think it's going to take up? Nerdy, shrink it just a little bit. It's about 38 stories. About 38 stories tall. That's a really tall tree. The world's tallest tree is located in California's Redwood National Park. It's a redwood tree called the Hyperion, and it's 379 feet tall. And you figure a story is about 10 feet. That's like 38 stories. Matthew saw it 2 weeks ago. That's neat. Can you imagine that, how tall? I've been there. When we were young teenagers, we smoked pot in the redwood forest. And then you drove through the tree. Matthew, did you drive through the tree? The one big one that's got a tunnel carved in it where you could drive through the tree? Did you do that? Yeah, we drove through the tree too, Kim. That was a trip. Heck yeah, you have to drive through the tree. The raffia. I know the drive-thru is pretty crazy. It's hard to believe that you're actually doing that, right? It's actually hard to believe. What a gorgeous forest that is. We didn't even leave our roaches there. We left nothing behind to prove that we were there. The raffia palm is the tree with the longest leaves in the world. It's a palm tree. It has the longest leaves in the world. You're not going to believe this. Where is it? Where is it? It has each leaf can be up to 80 feet long. Foot long leaf. And there's got to be more than one on the tree, right? Well, what a gigantic tree. 80 feet long and up to 10 feet wide. That's bigger than a container. That's about the size of a container they're putting on a ship. That's just one palm leaf. Are you kidding me? They're native to some African countries. It's called the raffia palm. That is a big leaf. Grass. Who here likes the smell of freshly mowed grass? Oh, classic. One leaf gives you a roof. Right? Billy D, so it's 2 containers long and 1 container wide. Who likes the smell of freshly cut grass? I think I do. I think I do till I read this rando facto, and I'm not going to very much anymore. Smell of freshly cut grass. I have bad news. Freshly cut grass. You ready? The scent of, that's correct, Tropic. The scent of freshly mowed grass is actually the lawn's response to injury. Green leaf volatiles are volatile organic compounds released by plants. When they are injured, these emissions increase exponentially. You're smelling the blood, Matthew. Green blood. All of a sudden it's screaming, ouch! This sucks. I didn't know that. I really didn't. I don't think I'm going to like the smell of grass. Now that I figured it out, now that somebody explained it to me, I feel sorry for grass. I still get it cut. We have a guy that comes every other week. Imagine the screaming that guy hears. No wonder he wears the earphone things. I always thought it was because he didn't want the molar in his ear. I'm going to ask him, do you ever hear it scream? Is that true, Mellow? And normally used to cut and dry grass for winter? Old and young all help out. We all killed it. We all made it bleed. Justin, that can be very true. That could actually be very true in certain climes. Here, it's probably not too big a waste of resource. It is amazing in Michigan what a sponge we are. It'll rain cats and dogs all night. And by about 9 o'clock in the morning, it looks completely like dry again. Our ground here just sucks it up. The raffia palm, that's a big guy. How about this guy? In 1723, I'm going to give you guys an explanation of a ripple effect. Paul, good morning, Paul. Aren't we sponges here, Paul? In 1723, a single coffee seedling, so a little coffee plant, just a little seedling. Yeah, we sure are, Paul. In 1723, a single coffee seedling was carried by French naval officer Gabriel Declus all the way from France to the Caribbean island Martinique. Then it spread, and it birthed 18 million trees over a period of 50 years. Eventually, some of these trees made it to South and Central America. One seedling. 50 years later, 18 million plants and spread across Central America. All it takes is one, you guys. We can ripple. That is a perfect definition of a ripple effect right there. Perfect definition. Isn't that crazy? What's probably considered one of the hardest plants in the world to grow, besides truffles? Wasabi. Did you know how hard wasabi is to grow? I didn't. One of the hardest plants to grow in the world is wasabi. Why, Pops? What's so hard about it? What wasabi's so hard about it? Well, in order to be cultivated, it needs pure, cold running water. In addition to that, it takes over a year for it to mature. If there is too much humidity in that year, or the wrong nutrient composition, the entire crop will be completely wiped out. Wasabi. Wow, pure cold running water. They have that somewhere like in Tennessee. That's how they get that good moonshine. I love sushi, Mother Wolf. I hate fish, or used to. Raw fish, you couldn't talk me into it. And finally, one time we were on a family vacation. We were up in Washington, and everybody went to sushi for the sushi restaurant. Oh, we want a sushi. And I'm like, oh, drop me off at McDonald's. They wouldn't. They refused to drop me at McDonald's. They made me go to the sushi restaurant with them. The next thing you know, they ordered for me, we're going to get you a California spring roll. That's a basic. If you can get over a California spring roll, you're a sushi guy. So the very first thing I ever had was a California spring roll. Loved it. Loved it. This is so good. Next thing you know, can I try the super thin, cut super duper thin? I'd like the raw tuna. I hate tuna. Hate it. I could still taste that piece of fish melting on my tongue. I didn't even need to chew. I just set it on my tongue and watched it turn into a piece of butter. I loved it. Sashimi, that's what it was, Paige. Sashimi. Sushi and sashimi are a little bit different. Sushi, you're supposed to eat with your hand. Sashimi, you're supposed to use chopsticks. Who here can use chopsticks? I'm not very good at it. I end up either just sticking it with the one stick, or can I have a fork, please? I would just send me a fork. The only guy in the restaurant with a fork. But I don't care. Chopstickian? Paige, I haven't either. I don't know if there's any good sushi around here. I haven't looked, so I shouldn't say there isn't. Yeah, Justin, I can tell you I still remember the taste of that tuna. Good stuff. There's a garden in China. There's a garden in Suzhou, China. It holds the title of the world's oldest consistently tended garden. Oldest garden consistently tended. They have been tending this garden in China for 973 years. 973-year-old garden. What do you think about that, Niffy? How would you like your garden to last 973 years? Pretty cool, right? Figures, China always makes stuff last long like that. Not the manufactured goods, but they always do like long-term projects. Remember we were talking about being in the redwood forest? Remember that? And we were talking about getting high and being drug addicts in the redwood forest. Do you think anybody's ever abused a redwood forest because they got a little tipsy situationally? Do you think anybody's ever done any damage to any of the trees? Do you think? I know we literally had a spirit of let's like tiptoe around. We could barely even want to touch the moss. But overall, do you think there's ever been like a serious damage situational? Yeah, there has been, but probably nerdy. I got to be honest with you, based off of the story I'm going to read to you, I feel sorry for the girl. I do. It could have been me. There, but for the grace of the universe go I. Who wants to hear this story? Give me 5 people. Pops, what the heck are you talking about? What'd we do to a tree? Who wants to hear this story? There, but for the grace of the universe go I. Who wants to hear Tropic here? Okay, that's a good one. Here we go. We're going to tell you this one. The Senator, that's the name. This cypress tree was so cool, he had his own name. He was called the Senator. He's located in Longwood, Florida. Wait for this. The Senator is 3,500 years old. One tree, 3,500 years old. Okay? It's the 5th oldest tree in the world. How do they know? Regrettably, a woman burned down the tree in 2012 by accident when she went into its hollowed out trunk to hide as she abused drugs. The woman later regretted her actions, saying she could not believe she destroyed a tree that was older than Jesus. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? Well, they can't count the rings if it's alive. They can't count the rings if it's alive. This lady probably has a really guilty conscience now. PTSD, tree PTSD. How terrible she must feel. Yeah, they say went in to abuse drugs. What do you think she was doing? She smoked a little pot. It's a dumb mistake. I feel bad. Could have been me. There, but for the grace of God, go I. Can you imagine burning down a 3,500-year-old tree? I'm really sorry, you guys. Can you tell the senator's wife I'm sorry? I'm going to give you one more rando facto. Okay? Core samplers. Is that what they're doing, MVP? That makes sense. They could go around core sampling. I don't want to sample a 3500. Don't core it. Leave it alone. Current oldest is 4,853 years old. Wow. Jeez, wow. Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to date them. Good job, MVP. By the way, good mornings, my good friend. 4,000-year-old tree. Wow. I'm going to read one final one here. It's in California. California has the cool trees. Why does California get all the cool trees? In the Namib Desert, there is a plant known as the welwitschia. The welwitschia. It can live for up to 1,000 years old. One plant, it can live 1,000 years in the desert. In fact, there are some species that exist right now that through carbon dating have shown to be at least 1,500 years old. I'm 1,500 years old living in the desert. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. The average, I don't know how they figured this out, but they did. The average oak tree sheds in autumn, the average oak tree sheds about 700,000 leaves. One tree. I'm going to give you 700,000 leaves. Welcome to the rake. Jeez, that's a lot. That is a lot. Speaking of a lot, let's give something away. I'm going to give away an eighth of an ounce of supplementary supplements. They're the Iceberg brand. Give me a number between 1 and 50. Go. Give me a number between 1 and 50. Number between 1 and 50. You're going to win if you get the first person I see that gets the number correct on my screen. Pacers, it's a done deal. Pacers killed the game, you guys. Pacers said it was 35, and by golly, by gosh, it was a 35. Pacers, I'll be waiting for an address from you, my good friend, and we'll get that sent off to you today. All right, we'll get you a little package of supplemental supplements. Okay. Last week we were talking about microdosing. Can we keep talking about microdosing this week? Let's learn some more together. Give me 5 people. Give me 5 people that said, you know what, we stopped at Spitzenkorpers. We're still talking about myceliation and cultivation, but I want to get educated on microdosing, right? Let's share our educationally, situationally here, okay? Let's do this. I looked up, there's a microdosinginstitute.com, and they had a neat little paper on the history of microdosing. Most of this we already know, but it's a good foundation. And then next, we're going to go back to the book that we picked up from Carnivorous that he donated to us. And there's some more fascinating information in there. Okay? But let's talk about, give me 5 people. History of microdosing. There is a history. How come Pops always finds history of stuff? Maybe he's a historian. History of microdosing. Although the term microdosing has been in use only in the last decade, the phenomenon itself has a long history, with evidence of microdosing practices existing in many cultures across the world. That's a neat thing to know. Oh, that's neat, Kim. It's a neat thing to realize that microdosing, just the concept, not the concept, the term is a relatively new term. in our vernacular. Most people are familiar with Charles Darwin and the theory of evolution. But have you heard of Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory? It is not hard for me to believe this, the stoned ape theory. It's not hard at all. And I've incorporated my own personal study of anthropology, sociology, history, theology, study of religions and their sources. It is not a bad theory. It's not a bad theory. They'll never actually prove it, so it'll always stay at theory level. But there's a lot to support this theory. According to McKenna's theory, psychedelics were the impetus that caused the Homo erectus to eventually become Homo sapiens. It's that part of the leap in evolution from Homo erectus to Homo sapien, which is what we are. We're Homo sapien sapiens on that tree. In his book, Food of the Gods, he explains that the North African continent was becoming drier and drier, turning into grasslands towards the end of the most recent ice age. Our ancestors who previously lived in the trees had to adapt in order to survive. We lost our tails and we learned how to run. Standing upright on 2 feet was one of our biggest evolutionary advances. And I'll tell you why. If you think about it, look around the universe today. The Homo sapien is not the fastest, but we run the longest. There isn't another animal in the world that can run for as long as we run. That's quite an advantage in terms of getting away from harm and causing harm. When you could outrun everybody, not first bursts of speed, but we're absolutely, I can last 25 miles, an elephant can last about an acre idea. So just that idea alone has made us incredibly dangerous. So our ancestors who previously lived in the trees had to adapt in order to survive. McKenna claims that these humans were hunter-gatherers who were in the vicinity of herds of animals. The buffalo, the gazelles, all of the things out in the savannas and on the grasslands. And by the way, they're pooping. And they're leaving behind a perfect substrate for mushrooms. Mushrooms all over the place. Therefore, it is plausible that they found psilocybin-contained mushrooms that are known to grow on cattle droppings. That's a good one, MVP, the sweating. The sweating, our capacity to sweat. An experiment by psychologist Roland Fisher in 1970 showed that low doses of psilocybin, or a microdose, improve our vision. This theory states that this vision improvement could have helped our ancestors hunt, gather food, and discover predators. The introduction of these mushrooms in the diet of early humans could have enabled them to live more consciously, increasing their learning and subsequently moving up the food chain. That would be the beginning of the symbiotic relationship between mushrooms and humans. Fascinating. Although the stoned ape theory has yet to be proved, it appears plausible. It's true that psychoactive substances can be found in herbs, roots, plants, seeds, and mushrooms everywhere on the planet. It seemed to have been only a matter of time before cultures all over the world would discover and start to use them in various ways. Until this day, many indigenous cultures have a shaman, a person who serves both as a doctor and a spiritual leader. In South Africa, the shaman, also known as the vegetalista or the cuandero, uses psychoactive plants to get into contact with the higher realms. Many cultures believe that such plants are the embodiment of a plant spirit, and that by consuming them, one can improve contact with their wise primal force. This occurs not only with consumption of high doses, but also with low doses, or microdoses as we coined them today. Tangible evidence that mushrooms were consumed in the old world come from cave drawings. 10,000 BC, on the plains, the plateau of the Sahara in Algeria, North Africa. They're showing anthropomorphic dancing mushrooms that had the characteristics of people. On various images of mushrooms and objects from the Bronze Age, there were decorated mushroom-like images. Then there were the mushroom stones of Mexico, dancing figures with a mushroom hat. Those are so cool. Then there was a second wave. That was the indigenous wave. The second wave, when Albert Hofmann, a Swiss pharmacological researcher, accidentally synthesized LSD in 1938 from the ergo fungus and experienced the first ever LSD trip, it marked the beginning of the second wave of psychedelics in Western society. With it came profound research into psychedelics and the famous counterculture hippie movement. Could you imagine being Albert Hofmann? We've talked about this before. He had no idea that he was going to trip. He had gotten a little of a drop on his skin subcutaneously. And then the next thing you know, he's riding his bicycle home. And things changed. Now, every one of us ever since, even his second trip, he had an idea something was going to happen if he tried something again. But being the very first one, and you've never had anything like this before, and you didn't expect it, can you imagine that coming down upon your consciousness? This is what he said. At home, this is after he got home. He barely made it home on his bicycle. At home, I laid down and I fell into a not unpleasant drunken state, characterized by a very stimulated imagination. In a dreamlike state, with my eyes closed, since I found daylight unpleasantly powerful, I saw an uninterrupted flow of fantastic images, extraordinary shapes, with an intense kaleidoscopic play of colors. Albert Hofmann, 1938. LSD was first used in psychotherapy and scientific study in the 1950s, mostly to treat anxiety, depression, addiction, and psychosomatic diseases. LSD was the subject of intensive pharmacological study, which resulted in almost 10,000 scholarly papers. In the years that followed, medical experts, scientists, and even the US government expressed an interest in this novel chemical. The CIA's infamous MK Ultra program looked at the use of LSD for mind control and chemical warfare. The scientific and ethical standards of the experiments were questionable, to say the least. In 1966, a team of scientists under the leadership of Dr. James Fadiman studied the influence of psychedelic agents on participants' creative problem-solving skills. In the psychedelic agents in the creative problem-solving experiment, they tested 27 people working in creative professions such as engineers, architects, scientists, and designers. They gave them 200 milligrams of mescaline sulfate and then had them work on a work assignment or a problem. The results were positive, leading many participants to come up with technologically advanced project proposals, products, and solutions that have been mostly accepted by their clients. Participants reported various forms of increased performance. Here's what they were: less burden of inhibitions and fears. I get that one. The ability to see a problem in the right context. Increased idea generation. Got it. Better ability to visualize and use fantasy. Better concentration. Got it. Increased empathy for external processes and issues. Got it. Increased empathy for people. Got it. Access to unconscious information. Increased motivation to complete a project. Got it. Visualizing solutions. Got it. I got a lot of those myself, so I believe them. Shortly after this experiment, the FDA banned all scientific research on psychedelics. Oops, wrong button. The influence of psychedelics and our creativity and problem-solving ability could not be investigated further for decades that followed. Now we're jumping from macro to micro. We know that Albert Hofmann microdosed for a few decades. When he microdosed, he walked in the forest where it would help him think more clearly. He lived to the age of 102. And at 101, he was still giving long lectures. He introduced the concept of microdosing to others and is known to have suggested that microdosing should be researched scientifically. Eventually, Robert Forte, who was aware of Albert Hofmann's positive experiences with microdosing, made Dr. James Fadiman aware of the practice. Fadiman started to independently investigate microdosing and has since been collecting reports from people who experiment with microdosing. His book, The Psychedelic Explorer's Guide, is the first book to extensively discuss microdosing, and most scientific articles about microdosing to date lean heavily on this work of Dr. James Fadiman. After years of independent research, Fadiman suggested a microdosing protocol to guide people who wanted to experiment with microdosing. This protocol includes a number of concrete guidelines of when to microdose and the invitation to keep a daily journal of the experience. Since then, the number of inquiries and reports has been rising exponentially. To date, he has received more than 1,850 reports, part of which he has analyzed together with Sophia Korb. At this moment, Fadiman is solely interested in reports about microdosing, not macro. And now we move to the third phase in the history of microdosing. It's called the community and therapeutic phase. The third phase in the history of microdosing is that of a rapidly increasing awareness of psychedelics and microdosing. It's the phase we're in right now. This awareness, and we're responsible, all of us here, for increasing this awareness. And for that, you should all thank yourselves. The awareness has been surging after microdosing gained significant media attention with articles in the Rolling Stone magazine, Forbes, and a podcast by Tim Ferriss. Soon after, the Microdosing Institute, who wrote this article, and other pioneering organizations like the Third Wave and like Tea with Pops began to provide education and community support. Research into the effects and medical that wasn't in the article, the Tea with Pops, they forgot my name. Research into the effects and medical application is rapidly increasing, with organizations like the Beckley Foundation, Imperial College London, and the Maastricht University leading the way. Additionally, we see many other institutions and companies collaborating for research to the potential of microdosing as treatments for many conditions such as migraines, inflammatory pain, cluster headaches, ADHD, ADD, OCD, TBI, and hormonal imbalances in women. Unfortunately, many microdosing substances are still not legally acceptable in most countries. Nevertheless, those who wish to microdose safely and effectively have access to a variety of online courses, workshops, retreats, and microdosing assisted coaching. That's the end of the third phase. So as we already knew all of this, I just put it together again one time. I like to repeat the history once in a while and sure give Albert Hoffman as much credit as we ever could possibly give him, because he could have freaked out and not wanted to continue. But he had that scientific, but he had that scientific mind. And we sure can thank him. Give me 1 second.
Eligible orders only. Terms and additional fees apply.
Okay. So, good article. Kimberly, I wish the same. The FDA came along in 69 and 70, and they said, you know what? We're scared of the hippies. We're scared of the youth of this nation. They have too much power right now. So what we need to do is we need to shut them down. And yet all the science is pointing in the exact opposite direction. Let's do our final reading for today, you guys. Vegas, thank you. You're so sweet to me all the time. I love you, girl. The magic of surrender. Okay? The magic of surrender. We're going to be on page 237 today. The anniversary for my mom's passing away is coming up. It's about 2 weeks from now. And I'm already feeling it. It's weird. I start getting kind of sad when I think about her, and the closer it gets to the anniversary of her passing. To fall in love with life. I cannot tell you what I would give to spend one more day with my mother. I would honestly, my mom was my best friend. She was, because I was divorced and the single kid in my family, her care at the end of her life, I stepped up for it. I volunteered, but my brothers and sisters were really grateful for it because they didn't have to be day-to-day involved And they were constantly getting reports from me, and I think they felt like I was taking care of mom pretty good. But she ended up moving in with me, and for 8 years, my roommate, when you're that close, it's almost it's just weird. Don't take this in an audible way, but she was almost my wife. There were a couple of times, embarrassingly so, we'd go to my mom loved to go to the casino, and she wouldn't spend a lot of money. She just didn't, and she was a winner. My mom could play cards like bridge championship level. Super, 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 super smart. I got just a touch from her. And I learned how to play poker doing all of this, taking her. It was best friend, girlfriend, roommate, pseudo wife, 8 years. And we couldn't have been closer. We were close growing up. I was the one that she protected more than anyone else because my dad was harder on me. I was the kid that took it. And my mom was always standing up for me. So at the end of her life, I stood up for her. I cannot tell you what I would give to spend one more day with my mother. I would honestly sell everything I had for the chance to be with her one more time. And yet on that day, do you know what I'd do with her? I wouldn't want to travel with her to some special place or go eat at a fancy restaurant. Nah. I just want to sit across from her at the kitchen table with a cup of tea and hours to cook a meal together and talk, laugh, reminisce, play Jeopardy with her, let her look at it ahead of time, cheat, pretend I didn't know. Just do the simple things. What I wouldn't give for that, it would be priceless. And yet I had 1,000 of those days with her. 2,000. But I didn't see how special it was. I was blind to it. Today I call that a sacred regret. It is sacred because it propelled me not to make that mistake again. That's why I've reconnected the way I have with my son. I'm not making that mistake again. I'm going to value every day if I can. Doing my best. As I've said, her death compelled me to mend my relationships. In the nothing, there is everything. I think we've had our own wake-up call this year and how amazing our extraordinary existence truly is. In 2020, with the world in lockdown, we began to appreciate our normal lives in a totally different way. The ordinary became extraordinary. Even through the lockdown, maybe we weren't happy with our job or the details of our life. In quarantine, we would do anything to get it back. To be able to get a haircut, to give your neighbor a hug, to attend a meeting with your coworkers, to just get on a plane and go somewhere, to be able to send your kid to school. We recognize now that those are small miracles. So how do we get to the point where we just took it all for granted? How did we get so jaded that we looked at our lives and we said, is that all? I want to learn what it means to experience the magic of surrender. Not just as you face the big moments in life, but those small ones too. The everyday moments where life is truly lived when you're running errands, sitting around with your parents, taking out the car, taking out the trash, washing the car, making love, taking your dog for a walk, just playing with your kids. Each of these moments is spiritual when you're fully present to experience them. It's time to slow down, savor life fully, and realize this moment is the most important moment of your life. We think these moments are unimportant. All that time with my mom at the TV and taking her places and doing things with her, I wasn't really savoring them. We were just doing them. I want to savor each one from now on. We were just going through it. We were just doing it and we were loving it. But I can imagine if I'd have taken this knowledge I have today and imbued it with the experiences that I was having with her. Oh, Mom. We think these moments are unimportant. Things to get through on our way to something bigger. But to miss the miracle of this moment is to miss the miracle that is your life. And to miss the many ways that you can make a difference right now. Make a difference. Savor every moment. We don't know how many we have. I posted it yesterday. Do you know how rare we are? Each individual of us, 400 trillion, the odds that I'm even here. That something got connected and the sperm had an egg and then I popped and I still lived and You're a 400 million chance that you're here, Mello. How can I not experience how rare you are? How could I ever say something bad about you? How could I ever spit at you? How could I ever yell at you? How could I ever treat you wrong? And yet we do. So we forget how rare we are. And at that moment I did that, could have been a moment I was loving you and caring about you and giving to you. So let's do that. Let's remember who we are. Let's remember how rare we are. Hold on to each other here. Boy, I miss my mom this morning. I miss her more than ever. And yet, we couldn't have had a better life together. I can't imagine. I can't say I wish we'd have done more. I'm glad we did everything we did. Love you too, Sandman. Would you guys go have a wonderful day? Thanks, Niff. You guys go have a wonderful day. If you have a mom or a dad and there's issues, fix them. Just go love them the way they are. It's okay. They weren't perfect, but you aren't either. Take care of it. There's some healing there. You're the healer. You're the doctor. You're the one. You have the power to heal. Fix it. Give them a call. This isn't a big deal. I'm just calling you to tell you I'm thinking about you. That's it. And then I'll call you again next week. Let's rebuild this relationship. Because I'm gonna miss you when you're gone. Go have a good day, you guys. Niffy and Nerdy and Oreo and HB and Mother Wolf, thank you. Justin LaFlower loves it. Kimberly, hello Kim. Billy D and Derek Anderson, MVP, I'm so glad you came here today. Mello and Rodmond and Notorious. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Jesus Christ in Australia. Mushmouth, thank you. Jeremy T and Oreo and Pacers, thank you. Vegas. There's my girl. Trenti, Pilar, Nerdy, and Corey D. Thank you. Jesus Christ. Donnie Fike and Kimberly. MVP and Joe D's and Pidgey Page. Thank you, my girl. Rodman and Nippy Mom, I love you. Give Ava a big hug from Poppy. Sandman and MVP in Vegas. And Herbie and Laura, you sure are divine. Timmy Downsy, nice to see you, Tim. Sam, you too. Notorious and Mellow, shout it out. Nersy, I'm so glad you said that. Go see her again. Calico, Kid and Pilar and Cat Meowzilla. MVP and John Zook, 4 things. 4, be impeccable. Don't take things personal. Don't have expectations. Do your best. Today our best is going to be taking every little moment not for granted. See you later.